Hello and welcome to episode 3. I don't know why I have to tell you that this is 3, but to episode 3 of Cha-Ching Chats podcast and YouTube. And today I'm Sarah every day I'm Sarah and this is,
I am Cheryl.
and our guest with us is Lynn. And Lynn is looking so fancy today. Lynn, tell us a little bit about what you do because I thought you did one thing and now I'm learning to do many. So
Yeah.
our people in side hustle world are going to want to know all about your things that you do.
So I have been in the online world since I started my first blog in 2008, and I love writing. I was planning a trip to Disney, looked in a million different places, couldn't find the information I need, and thought, I'm organized. I can put this together myself. And that's where my first blog came from. And then when I got separated from my husband several years ago, single mom life is not cheap. So I had to come up with another way to make some more money. And with 3 little kids, it's more expensive to have childcare when you get a second job than it is to try and find a job that you can do at home. So I started doing virtual assistant stuff before I realized that that's what it was called. I was very lucky to have friends who knew some of my skills and talents and were like, hey, can you write some blog posts for me? Could you post my social media posts for me? And I got paid to do it and do stuff that I was already doing and already good at. So that's kind of how that started. And I've had so many people ask me, how do you do what you do? I want to do that too. And that's kind of how my How to Be a Virtual Assistant Facebook group came out of all of that. So I still actively take on clients as a virtual assistant, but I also spend a lot of time teaching other people how they can be a virtual assistant too. So
See, I mean, this is fascinating. I'm learning so much, but I thought you were not just, but I thought you were the Pinterest girl. Like you were like the Pinterest queen. And I don't even know if I'm saying it right because I've heard people say Pinterest, but let me tell you, when I had a virtual assistant for my LuLaRoe business several years ago, and I refused to do anything with Pinterest because I said it is smarter than me and I can't figure it out. Right. And I was like, all I keep doing is pressing, I double press. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So she did my Pinterest. So I have very little of my Pinterest right now because it was all that she did. But then I saw that you are the queen of Pinterest also.
yes, I love Pinterest. I used it for a long time, personally, just personal things. I mean, I was that, traditional mom looking for recipes to cook or crafts for my kids, and then started to realize, well, I have a website, I can put my stuff there, and other moms can start to find my stuff. And it's definitely been a roller coaster over the years. There have been a lot of changes, just like any other platform out there. But it's been really fun to dive in and learn about all the different things and how helpful that can be for your business. So Pinterest is one of my favorite places to be on the internet.
So, as your virtual assistant business, is that one of the services that you offer? Is Pinterest people
Yes, ma'am.
person? I don't know what you would call that. I do your Pinterest.com or
Yep.
something. Yeah.
That's a good website. I should go buy that.
So people can hire you, and this would be a side gig. People can hire you just to make their Pinterest, do their Pinterest.
Yeah, absolutely. I offer a few different options. I'll just make pins for you if that's a struggle. I will make the pins and write the descriptions if you want to take care of doing that yourself, or will do all of it. I will, look at your current Pinterest account and update boards and descriptions and all that good stuff, create new boards as needed, and take care of making the pins and getting everything scheduled so that you don't have to worry about any of that part.
That. And you, again, you can do all of that from home, right? So these are all
Yeah,
side
absolutely.
hustles. And
Yeah.
do you do Pinterest from your desktop or from your phone?
I always do the actual pin creation and scheduling from a laptop or a desktop. For my clients, if I'm doing full management and I'm doing like live pinning and stuff like that, you can definitely do that from your phone. So a lot of times when my kids were younger, I would do that while I was sitting in the car line at school to pick them up. Going on somebody's website, if you're my client, I'm going to go on your website and I'm going to pick blog posts to pin from your website. I'm going to scroll through your Pinterest feed and pin things and that kind of stuff you can absolutely do, while you're at the airport going on vacation. There's lots of different ways you can work. So
That's a whole business, just doing other people's Pinterests. That's awesome.
yeah,
Wow.
that's one of
Okay.
the things that I gave to the people in my group was a list of things because a lot of people get really confused about like what a virtual assistant is or what can you do from home. And listen, anything that somebody else doesn't want to do and you want to do it, like you can make a side gig out of it. You can fold laundry, you can schedule social posts, you can write real estate listings for somebody. There's a lot of options out there.
That's great.
I was in fact I brought this up in last week's the one that airs today. It's airing right now. With Pam that I had been in a training call and the lady was suggesting that we hire VAs for specific packages for specific things like Pinterest or whatever, writing real estate descriptions. I was like, wait, what? um that it's better to do that. You're going to get a better outcome by doing that than you are by hey, do all the things for me, and then
Right.
like what's all the things? And then I'm like, wait, I don't know. So
Yeah, for
That's
sure. And I have a lot of business owners ask me, like I want to hire a virtual assistant, but what do I do? Like, where do I even start? And I always tell them, like if you're going to bring me on to do your Pinterest, I want you to be able to trust me. I want you to know that I know my stuff. But from the flip side, one of the very first things that we need to do is figure out a process so that you know enough about Pinterest so that not that I need you to micromanage me or check on me, but so that you know what's going on so you can come back and look at things or if it doesn't work out or if I'm not able to keep you on as a client anymore that you have this process so that you can either do it yourself or find another virtual assistant. So it's great to have a virtual assistant if you're able to do that. It's also really great if you can find somebody specialized. I've done the, hey, come run my business kind of virtual assistant. And that can get, it's fun. It's a lot of different things, but it can get crazy and stressful. So if you can focus on one thing, and I tell the people in my group, find something that you like doing because this is you trading your time for money. And sure, you need money to pay the bills. I'm a single mom. I totally get that part of it. But you don't want to spend that time doing something that you freaking hate. Like if you're gonna, put it off to the last minute because you hate doing it, you're probably not going to do your best job. You're not going to go out there looking for more clients to do it again because you don't like doing it. So try to find something that you like to actually do.
so
is
tell me about, go ahead, Cheryl.
is what you talked about the process. Is that something that you do at the start of a project with a client? Is you work out that process of so that both of you understand what the SOP is for
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of business owners, I'm very lucky that a lot of my clients have come from referrals. So that speaks volumes to me that people will refer me to somebody else. So a lot of times they don't have a process in place. So we will go through that and say, here's what I do. Here's what I would suggest in your situation. Let's talk about your goals. What do you want the outcomes to be? I always recommend that people get really clear. If anybody can say, I'll manage your Pinterest for you. Okay, but what does that mean? How many pins are you going to create? Are you going to schedule them? Are you going to follow up if somebody comments? To get really clear for your own sanity and to be accountable to each other, your client and to you, because that could, saying that you're going to manage my Pinterest might mean one thing to me, and that might be a 30-hour-a-week job. But if I hire a virtual assistant and say manage my Pinterest, to them that might be making 10 pins a week. And so I'm not seeing the outcome that I want because we're not on the same page to start with.
Absolutely. And this is part of your training for how to be a virtual assistant.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So I have to throw this in here right quick. I met Lynn, it's probably been over a year ago at this point.
Oh, yeah.
One of the biggest things that I have learned from you, because I'm not trying to be a virtual assistant, is what to look for in a virtual assistant. So it did me a huge service to be part of your group, and I'm still part of your group. To listen to the things that you say, to go through the trainings that you offer, and you've got a big one coming up, a challenge coming up.
Yep.
Because it helped me understand the virtual assistant world and who I needed to look for and what I needed to ask them. And, it gave me a whole different understanding from I need a virtual assistant. I need these things to help me to move forward in my business. So anyone that's listening, if you want a virtual assistant and you don't know, go check out, go join her free Facebook group, because the things that I've learned over there have helped me in my own business, actually performing the tasks, not only trying to figure out who I need to hire. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Lynn,
And we talk a lot about like how to do things. And you can take that from both directions as a business owner, because we talk, being a virtual assistant is a business. You are setting this up as your business. And there are things that you have to do to make your business run effectively and not overtake your life, because we all have other things to do too.
yeah. So tell us about both of you have two groups, or you have, how many groups do you have?
Well, I manage a million of them, but I have my How to Be a Virtual Assistant Facebook group that is free and open to anybody who's interested in looking to become a virtual assistant. I do have a lot of business owners who join because they're not sure if they need a virtual assistant, if they want to try and learn the things themselves. And I know as a business owner, you can't do it all. There's not enough hours in the day, and you just have to make some decisions. And I understand that. And I do try to explain to the people in my group that, there's a lot that goes in if you're not familiar with running an entire business. There's a lot of different things to think about and things like that. So we definitely talk a lot about that. But then I also have a group for moms, because I have my own personal blog that I've had forever. And we just talk about, mom stuff. And one thing in all aspects, is just the realness. You're not going to find, there's no perfection. There's no, the Instagram perfect pictures anywhere. Being a virtual assistant is messy. You're up in the middle of the night in your pajamas, throwing laundry in because your kid just puked somewhere, and you're up anyways. You might as well get some work done, kind of a thing. Like, that's the reality of it. To me, it's very important that people understand that it's not this glorious job that you can come in and log in a couple weeks on the computer and do it and it's done. That's just not the reality, as much as those shiny Facebook and Instagram ads want you to think that you can, do this in an hour a week. It's just not the reality.
Right. Because if it was your own business, you wouldn't work an hour a week. So if you're going to be a virtual assistant, they don't want you only working an hour a week.
Right.
Yeah.
And you should, I should, as a virtual assistant, as, if I'm an expert in Pinterest, I should be able to do it much faster and much better than you as somebody who is not familiar. And, I
Right.
explain to take that into account with your pricing and your planning and all of that stuff too. But you also don't want to rush through things and not do them well.
Right. Right. Okay, so you have a challenge coming up, and that when this video gets released, it's going to be released on the 27th. And what day does your challenge start?
On the 28th.
All right. So, everyone will have time to join your free challenge, and tell us a little bit about your free challenge.
So it's completely free. It's just 3 days, so there's not a huge time commitment. And it is all about getting your virtual assistant business started. So by the end of those 3 days, you should have enough of the basics to be able to go out and pitch somebody and get your first client, to help cover, spring break or a summer vacation or something like that this year. So
That's fantastic. All right. So, do you have, if people want to learn more about your, do you have like a website, or do you have a blog for your, tell me how for people to reach you.
the easiest way for people to find it would be just to join the How to Be a Virtual Assistant Facebook group. I share links and stuff in there. So that would be the easiest way for them to kind of get in the groove over there.
All right. Now, you're very knowledgeable about virtual assistant things. I'm going to ask you, tell me about a time when you had no idea what you were doing. And how did you
That
handle it?
happens a lot.
I feel like this is a interviewing you for a job question, you know?
Right. Especially, I had a client a couple of years ago that was referred to me from another friend who is a virtual assistant. And she was like, I don't have the bandwidth to do this, but I think you two would really connect well. And we met and I onboarded her. And as we continued to work together, things kind of grew and changed. And she was like, hey, I need you to go ahead and manage all of this particular aspect of the business. I'm a people pleaser. Sure, yeah, okay, I can do that. No problem. I didn't know anything, not enough that I felt confident that I could run that portion of her business. But you best believe I went to YouTube and started watching all the videos and started Googling and reached out to my other friends who had similar businesses to say, okay, if these are the goals, these are the platforms, what do I do? How do I get a product in front of more people? How do I help launch a book? How do I do these different things so that I was successful?
How do you, when people come to you and they join your free Facebook group, what are the different avenues that, as a virtual assistant, that, like, I wouldn't know where to start. Like, Cheryl's already been in your group. I don't believe I am in your group. I would want to know, like, well, what things should I be outsourcing, or what things could I be outsourcing that I didn't realize I could? So what kind of specific jobs, instead of like, I manage your business, if we had people that wanted to do a side hustle and just focus on a certain topic, like what kind of topics would they focus on?
Yeah, and that's one of the first things that most people that join want to know. They're very open and say, I want to become a virtual assistant, but I don't know what to do.
Okay.
And my first piece of advice is always to look at the skills that you already have and what you enjoy doing. Because if you need money right now, you probably don't have money for, a $500,000 training to go learn something new. You're not going to feel confident in it if you're just learning it. And you don't have the time to go through a course to get yourself proficient in something. So I always encourage people to look at the skills they have that they like to do. And then we can start there and determine, okay, how do we market that? Where can we find people who need that skill? But I also give people a list of over 250 ideas of different things that virtual assistants can do. You can go, there's so many AI tools. You could go to ChatGPT and say, I like crocheting and social media, and how can I make money from that? And ChatGPT will tell you. You could get into the crafting niche. A lot of different things, different niches require different knowledge. As an accountant, you don't care if somebody knows how to knit. That has no bearing on the two. But if you can come in and talk about a profit and loss sheet, and the different tools and bank accounts and different things that you need, having that knowledge and that vocabulary and understanding to be able to work with that client makes a huge difference. And, if Cheryl was interviewing different virtual assistants, having that knowledge and that skill set is definitely, going to help bump that potential virtual assistant up.
So how do you help people determine their pricing? Because I know that a lot of times, so one of my businesses is Cheryl and I are both resellers. So one of our, often in reselling, people hire out virtual assistants to do, to build their listings.
Mm-hmm.
Like we'll take the pictures and then someone else will like do the description, add the item specifics, all that kind of thing. And some people have had really good experience with companies overseas because it's, a lot cheaper. How do you base your pricing? Maybe not your pricing specifically, but everyone else's. How do you suggest they set their pricing?
So my general rule of thumb for that, and that's another question that I get asked all the time, is first I ask people to take a look and see how much time they have available to dedicate to this. Is this going to be something you can do for 5 hours a week? Or is it something that you want to, start with 20 hours and build to a 40-hour a week a job to replace an income or something like that? And look at, if you have a number that you're trying to replace, if you want to make $2,000 a week and you've got 20 hours a week, what does that look like as an hourly rate to you? That kind of gives you a baseline. Is that a reasonable thing as a new virtual assistant? You might not be able to charge $100 an hour for your service. So you might have to narrow that in a little bit. $2,000 a week might be a lofty goal, but that's okay. It's still a good goal to have. And I always encourage people to work from a project-based pricing as opposed to an hourly rate pricing. Just in my experience and networking with other virtual assistants, I started my business because I don't want to have to punch a clock. I don't want to have to say from 9 to 9:03, I did this. From 9:03 to 9:15, I did this. Oh, you only worked 57 hours this week, but I paid you for 60. Or, 57 minutes this week and I paid you for 60. That's not how I want to run my business. So for me, it's easier to say, I will run your Pinterest account. I'll do Pinterest management for you. I'll create you 100 pins. And I know, because it's something that I know how to do and that I'm comfortable with, that might take me 2 hours. And if I've determined that my hourly rate is, $30 an hour, I need to charge at least $60 for that project to be able to complete it. And you definitely want to look at, when you're thinking about pricing, is not only your time, but the time that you're saving your client. If it's something that's taking them 10 hours a week, you're saving them 10 hours. There's a value to that. And on the flip side, think of all the things you need. If you're using Canva, if you're using Trello to organize yourself, if you're using Toggle to track your time, if you have all of these subscriptions that you're paying for, make sure that all of that is built into your price. If you're selling stuff, if you're charging with PayPal, sending invoices, they're going to take a fee off of that when the invoice is paid. So if you need to make $2,000 at the end of the week, after everything is said and done, make sure that all of those fees and are included in that price that you're charging so that you're getting your worth at the end of it.
Well, I think this is a perfect time to segment over to, we're going to end this part 1 and we are going to move over to part 2 over to Cheryl's channel. So Lynn, stay with us. Everyone stay with us. And we are going to follow the link at the end of this video over to Cheryl's channel and talk some more.